Namaste.
Okay.
Namaste. So we'll begin today's class with 4.39.
श्रद्धावान लभते ज्ञानं तत्परः संयतेन्द्रियः ज्ञानं लब्ध्वा परां शान्तिम् अचिरेणाधिगच्छति.
So he says that he's talking about faith now. So I'll just read the verse 39. He who has mastered his senses is exclusively devoted to his practice and is full of faith, attains knowledge. Having had the revelation of truth, he immediately attains supreme peace in the form of God realization. So, in the previous verse, he spoke about nothing is purer than knowledge, nothing is greater than knowledge. Knowledge is the purifier. So, but now he says that who receives this knowledge? A man of faith. He attains this knowledge, whose senses are under control. And what does he gain with knowledge? Does he gain more money, name, fame? What does he gain? He gains the highest peace, Param Shanti, that supreme peace. So, in the next 39, 40, 41, 42, he's only talking about Shraddha and its opposite, doubt. So, the importance of Shraddha, we'll read the next verse also. Why Shraddha?
अज्ञश्च श्रद्दधानश्च संशयात्मा विनश्यति. नायं लोकोऽस्ति न परो न सुखं संशयात्मनः.
So the one who does not have faith, he is called Agnya, an ignorant one. And he is possessed by doubt. He is lost on the spiritual path. For the doubting soul, there is neither this world nor the world beyond, nor even happiness. So why should there be faith? Because the person who's doubting all the time is a very weak person. He's only moving around here, there, from from pillar to post. He doesn't gain anything. But a person who has faith, faith is conviction. So when you have faith in your mind doesn't wander from here to there. It becomes one pointed. It becomes steady. And when the mind is steady, naturally it gains knowledge, it gains correct knowledge. A person who's scattered in his mind cannot get anything. Even in this material world, if you want something, you need knowledge. You need some skill, some knowledge. Otherwise, an ignorant one doesn't find anything in this world. No steadiness, no knowledge, no wealth, no health, nothing. There are people who are moving from pillar to post, from one doctor to another for health. There is no faith. So, for everything, you need that element of faith. And he is using the word agnya, the agya or agnya, the ignorant one who doesn't have knowledge, who doesn't have jnana. So how does this ignorance is what? Nothing but lack of faith. He says this vinashyati, he perishes, he goes to destruction and he suffers. So now the next one also is talking about faith.
योगसन्न्यस्त कर्माणं ज्ञानसञ्छिन्न संशयम् आत्मवन्तन्न कर्माणि निबध्नन्ति धनञ्जय.
Yeah. So he says, Arjun, actions do not bind him who has dedicated all his actions to God according to the spirit of Karma Yoga, whose doubts have been dispelled by wisdom and who is self-possessed. Now, it's not easy to walk on this path of Karma Yoga. Very, very difficult. Only the one with faith can walk. And when he pursues the path of Karma Yoga, he's free. He's not bound. He attains the liberation or the moksha. Now, what do we have to give up? The results. The one who renounces, he works. It's not that he doesn't work, but he renounces the result. There's no desire for the fruit of action in him. So, basically, we can practice faith in small, small ways. We can build it up. And if we build it up, then we gain everything. The world is ours, this world and the other world. So now the question is, can we build up the faith? So we can move on to the next verse. And with that, we'll finish.
तस्माद् अज्ञानसम्भूतं हृत्सन् ज्ञानासिनात्मनः चित्वैनं संशयं योगम् आतिष्ठोत्तिष्ठ भारत.
So he says, therefore, Arjun, slashing to pieces with the sword of knowledge this doubt in your heart, born of ignorance, establish yourself in Karma Yoga in the shape of even-mindedness and stand up for the fight. In the second chapter, talking about Samatvam, the line when he says that Yogastha Kuru Karmani, Yogastha, be established in yoga. And being established in yoga means nothing but giving up the fruit. Do your work. It's not that you should not work. How will you sustain yourself? Physically, mentally, emotionally, you can never sustain yourself if you don't work. This kind of work and be detached from the result. Put in your heart, soul, everything in the work. Make it a karma. It's effortless. You have put in everything. Remove the negativities, the impurities which come during the process of work and go towards that goal of a karma. So, yeah, that is about this chapter. So, do we have any questions? Or we can move on to chapter 5 today. So, this is clear?
I think when we do Sankhya or
Yeah.
any Darshan Shastra which presents an overall picture of the universe,
Yeah.
that actually helps build up faith.
Yes.
Because one realizes that, the universe is such a balanced mechanism. It's
Yeah.
the natural law that works in the universe is so exact and perfect.
Yeah.
That, its workings cannot be disturbed or tampered with.
True.
So therefore, the fact that results will come from the effort,
yeah,
it's not a matter of chance. It's just that what form they take and when they come is according
yes.
to universal forces. Yeah. And often what happens is there's certain results that we desire today, tomorrow in a different situation or with better understanding,
They'll come.
we wish, I hope that doesn't happen. What I was wishing for yesterday, what was nectar yesterday becomes poison today.
True.
Right? So therefore, what comes through to us, is something that is our just desert.
Yes.
Whether we can see it or not, that depends on our perspective, how well developed it is. But the working of the natural law is perfect.
True.
So in that sense, a little bit of understanding of that helps develop Shraddha.
Yeah. True. There's nothing without. Yeah, true. Very true. So he's given 4 verses to it. That doubt has to be removed, faith has to be installed. And we can build up this faith. Faith is a technique which can be slowly generated and built upon. So the main thing is that don't allow the mind to run. If you allow the mind to run, it's going to be possessed by many thoughts. So once you're certain, then just keep the mind calm. We have to work at it initially till it becomes a conviction. Okay. So shall we end chapter 4 today?
Yes.
Yeah,
That
and we
is
can
all.
chapter 5. Om
Yeah.
Tat Sat.
ओम तत्सदिति श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासु उपनिषत्सु ब्रह्मविद्यायां योगशास्त्रे श्रीकृष्णार्जुन संवादे ज्ञान कर्म संन्यास योगो नाम चतुर्थोऽध्यायः।
Yeah. Renounce
अथ
every.
पंचमोऽध्यायः।
Yeah, please.
अर्जुन उवाच संन्यासं कर्मणां कृष्ण पुनर्योगं च संस्तसे यत् श्रेय एतयोरेकं तन्मे ब्रूहि सुनिश्चितम्।
Yeah. So now begins the chapter 5, and Arjun has a question. He says, Krishna, you're talking about renunciation, then you're talking about yoga. What is good? Tell me, this whatever is the best for me. So Krishna is answering. Shall we read? We'll see what Krishna is telling him.
भगवान् उवाच संन्यास कर्मयोगश्च निःश्रेयसकरौ उभौ तयोस्तु कर्म संन्यासात् कर्मयोगो विशिष्यते।
Right. So now Arjun has a question and Krishna is answering him. Krishna says that I spoke about the yoga of knowledge and karma yoga, but both of them lead to supreme bliss. Of the two, however, the yoga of action, being easier to practice, is superior to yoga of knowledge. So both are same. Sannyas is also same, and karma yoga is also same. The benefits are same, but still, Krishna is saying karma yoga is better. See, both are renunciation. Sannyas is mentally renouncing. Sannyas is physically renouncing. Physically, you don't do action. But karma yoga is you're physically doing the action, but mentally you have renounced. Really, there is total sannyas. Both are sannyasis, both are yogis, both get the same benefit. So we have to understand this point very clearly that you are physically doing action, but mentally it doesn't taint you, it doesn't bind you. That is the most important point. Okay. Any questions on this? All right. So shall we go to the next?
ज्ञेयः स नित्यसन्न्यासी यो न द्वेष्टि न काङ्क्षति निर्द्वन्द्वो हि महाबाहो सुखं बन्धात् प्रमुच्यते।
Yeah. So he says the karma yogi who neither hates nor desires should ever be considered a renunciant. For Arjun, he who is free from the pairs of opposites is easily liberated from bondage. Now, the thing is that why is Krishna also saying that karma yogi is superior? You see, it's not easy to live in the midst of action and be detached. The sannyasi has left everything. He's left action, he's left reaction. But for karma yogi, he has not left action. So it's even more difficult for him. He's there in the middle of the battlefield. He's there, and still he has to be detached. He still has to do his duty. So he says the one who does, he's free from the pairs of opposites. Only then can he carry out his duties. Can't be attached. So he says mentally he's free from hate, he's free from desire. He simply does, and then naturally he's free from bondage. So this is the point he's trying to make. So now these things are going to be very clear because we have already spoken about in detail about karma, vikarma, akarma. So now he's saying both the sannyasi and the karma yogi both are same. Okay.
सांख्ययोगौ पृथक् बालाः प्रवदन्ति न पंडिताः एकमाप्य स्थिताः सम्यक् उभयोर्विन्दते फलम्। एकमप्याश्रितः सम्यक् उभयोर्विन्दते फलम्.
Yes. So he says it is the ignorant, the children, the illiterate, and not the wise who say that Sankhya and Yoga are lead to divergent results. For one who is firmly established in either gets the fruit of both. So, see, the Sankhya, Yoga, Sankhya was the oldest darshan we have, and Yoga is based on that. Yoga, Sankhya is the theory part. Sankhya is dividing the whole creation into Purush, Prakriti, Panch Mahabhut, and Ankar, Mahat, whatever. It just goes on into the classification. Yoga is telling you practice whatever Sankhya has told you. So one is theory, one is practice. Both are same. You can't get the results without, you have to know the theory, because डॉक्टर साहब बोलते थे कहाँ जाना है, रास्ता तो पता होना चाहिए. So Sankhya is telling you where to go, and Yoga is telling you how actually to go. So both, you can't have one without the other. So the illiterate people who don't know, they talk of them being different, that I know the theory and I'm only practicing. Both are essential, both go hand in hand. The results of both are the same. So these are just different systems, but the end is the same. That's all.
यत् साङ्ख्यैः प्राप्यते स्थानं तद् योगैरपि गम्यते. एकं साङ्ख्यं च योगं च यः पश्यति स पश्यति.
Yeah. The state which is reached by the Sankhya is attained also by Yogi. Therefore, he alone who sees Sankhya and Karma Yoga as identical, as so far as the results are there, sees truly that they both are same. Okay. So these words don't really need any explanation.
Right.
Yeah.
सन्न्यासस्तु महाबाहो दुःखमाप्तुम अयोगतः योगयुक्तो मुनिर्ब्रह्म न चिरेणाधिगच्छति.
So without Karma Yoga, however, Sankhya Yoga, the renunciation of doership in relation to all activities of the mind, senses and body, is difficult to accomplish. Whereas the Karma Yogi who keeps his mind fixed on God reaches Brahma in no time. So he's giving more weightage to Karma Yoga. He says without Karma Yoga, you cannot, without practice, you cannot understand the principles of Sankhya. So it's difficult. So the beginning has to be done by Karma Yoga. See, because why is Krishna saying this? Because this philosophy was basically for householders. He's telling Arjun. Arjun is not a sannyasi. He's living in the world and doing the action. Living in the midst of the storm, being in the midst of the storm and keeping your mind calm is a very difficult proposition. So he says that you go on practicing and you will realize the principles. So for him, both are same. But see, Krishna has to tell Arjun that without Karma Yoga, you won't get anything. You can't run away from the battle. The battle has come to you. It's your situation. It's your dharma. Do it. You'll gain the knowledge. Without doing, you cannot gain knowledge. So the beginning has to be made through Karma Yoga, and slowly you will understand the principles, and you will gain the highest.
योगयुक्तो विशुद्धात्मा विजितात्मा जितेन्द्रियः सर्वभूतात्मा कुर्वन्नपि न लिप्यते.
Yeah. So he says the karma yogi who has fully conquered his mind and mastered his senses, whose heart is pure, who has identified his self with the self of all the beings, he remains tainted even though performing action. Now the karma yogi also, he has to fully conquer his mind, otherwise he can't perform the karma yoga. How can you be selfless if you're thinking about yourself? The mind is running. The mind is totally at peace. He's gained the right knowledge, and he's same like the sannyasi. He's become a sannyasi. He's become a akarmi. Actions don't bind him anymore. So now in this verse, this word conquering the senses, jitendriya. Indriya have been the sannyasi is anyway renounced, he's moved away. But this man is here among the sense objects. They create the sensations in him, and still he's conquered them. So obviously, Krishna is giving him more weightage. So, so then, like, it's a guideline for us that do the action, but keep your senses in control. Don't allow the mind to be disturbed. Have faith, do your, and you're assured that you will gain the highest. He's going on assuring us in all these verses. Karma Yoga is going to give you the same result. You don't need to get away from society. Live in the society, control your senses, gain the knowledge through work, through the right kind of work, and you will be liberated. So, the point of controlling the senses, that has to continue. That can't stop at any moment.
But you know, the translator again has played his trick of putting in bracket God, namely God.
Yeah.
Whereas
So
what the word says is with the self of all beings.
yeah.
So, which is actually talking about a much more sense of equality.
Equality.
But the moment you translate it as God, then you put
Yeah.
something above human
Yeah.
being.
Yeah. True.
Actually, it is the Atman of all the beings.
Yeah.
So there is this is a trick which this translation has played all the
Yeah.
time. He's playing it
That-
all the time.
That's true. That's why you need a somebody to explain it to you.
Yeah. Right.
Can't stand on your own. So now the Gita is translated in all languages.
Yeah.
Hindi, Gujarati, English. So they will be using these words, Ishwar, Bhagwan.
Right.
So we leave the translation aside.
No, if the original mentioned God, then the translation is justified. But here it is the original is not mentioning
True,
God.
true.
In that case, it is not warranted.
Absolutely. You're right,
Yeah.
sir. Yeah, so the knowledge, of course, is that seeing the equality everywhere, seeing the same life principle, the same Purusha, Brahman, whatever you call it. You may call it God also. It's a life principle. But you see the same thing in everybody.
Right.
So, yeah. So now these verses are easy flowing. We can go to the next verse.
Oh. नैव किंचित करोमीति युक्तो मन्येत तत्त्ववित् पश्यन् शृण्वन् स्पृशन् जिघ्रन् अश्नन् गच्छन् स्वपन् श्वसन् प्रलपन् विसृजन् गृह्णन् उन्मिषन् निमिषन् अपि इन्द्रियाणि इन्द्रियार्थेषु वर्तन्त इति धारयन्.
Yeah. So nice.
Very nicely put. Very nicely put.
Yeah. I do nothing at all. That total sense of doership is gone. I am in the previous chapter they had Shariram Kevalam Karma. That I am, my body is doing all these actions, but my mind is fixed on God. I do nothing at all. Ishwar karwa raha hai, or God is doing it through me. It's a total removal of I sense, which is the ultimate. When that ahankar goes away, then there is nothing but it's just the reflection of the Purusha in the intellect. The intellect is free from that I sense. So that slowly, every day, whenever I'm doing all the actions in life, if I consciously first go on repeating that I do nothing at all. I'm speaking, he does it, it's his energy. I blink my eyes, I open my eyes, I talk, I hold. So many actions are given here. I see, I hear, I eat. I smell. Everything is done because of that energy. Such a beautiful uh, couplet, two verses. I do nothing at all. And then who does all this? The senses. The senses, it's their job, they are doing it. So, Mera nahi, not me, it's a lot. Yes, sir, what is it that you have to say?
When I do Hatha Yoga,
Yeah.
and Sabir Bhai makes us do pranayam, then who is doing it?
Please.
Then who is doing it? I'm saying, then when I do Hatha Yoga and I do pranayam, Purak, Rechak, Kumbhak, then who is doing it?
Who is doing it? My body is doing it. The body. Not body, the body. The body which I have assumed in this birth is doing it. Yeah, it's a difficult thing. It is difficult. It's not easy, but it's just a practice. These are just techniques to practice. This is just a study, repetition, swadhyaya kind of a thing. You're constantly putting these good thoughts in your mind, and eventually something comes out of it. So at the moment, reading it is good enough. And at some point, remembering it and recalling it is good enough. So now the Gita study will be there for one term, but one has to continue, or one has to continue this study in some other form. We will be doing the Yoga Sutra. They'll tell you the same thing. Hatha Yoga will tell you the same thing. Everything is going to arrive at the same thing. The point is continuous study. I do nothing at all. That also, I do nothing at all. God will make us do. It's His wish. We can't take it on. When Vinoba Bhave finishes the 18th chapter, and the first thing he says, it's by the grace of God that we have reached the 18th chapter. It's only his hands, whether we will reach the end of this um, course, we don't know. It's all up to Him. Yes, so we can go to the next verse.
I was thinking that Sunil Bhai is going to say something. Sunil ji is going to say something, I thought.
Actually, this is just flowing so well.
Yeah.
Today it's exceptionally, good because I think, as Ashaji rightly said, in chapter 3 and 4, the foundation has been set.
Yes.
So now it's a matter of kind of, just finishing it, completing it. So therefore,
ब्रह्मण्याधाय कर्माणि संगं त्यक्त्वा करोति यः लिप्यते न स पापेन पद्मपत्रम् इवाम्भसा.
So nice.
Beautiful.
So he who acts offering all actions to God, Brahmani Adaya, you just leave it to him. And shaking of attachment remains untouched by sin as the lotus leaf by water. So nice. So one point. Okay, so now in these next three verses, he's talking about one thing, Sangam Tyaktva. In the next verse and in the next verse also you will read the same kind of Karma Phalam Tyaktva. So one desire for the fruit. Involve yourself totally into the action. Do your best. So obviously when you do your best, then there is the joy which you get out of doing the best is not going to be equal to the material benefit which you get from the act. So leave the fruit. Act itself. So he says that Sangam Tyakta. And then he says, let the actions just flow. Like the water doesn't stick on the lotus leaf. Don't let the action stick to you. You do it and leave it. Anyway, if you do it to the best of your capacity, it will be my heart and soul into it. I have done my bit. If I'm a housewife, I've cooked, I've put in my heart and soul, it's over. If I who has to be the earning member, I have put my heart and soul into the work. It's not that I should not work. So just put your heart and soul into the work. Give it to God. Give your mind to God. And then nothing will bind you. The actions will just flow from you. They'll not stick to you. And such a good simile he uses of the lotus leaf. Nothing sticks to it. Untouched, pure. So can we make our actions a karma? By removing the impurities, by purifying the mind. And when the mind is purified, I'm totally concentrated in the act itself. And that itself is joy. That sustains me. Faith is like a loving mother which sustains the child. That's what they say about faith.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. So next verse.
कायेन मनसा बुद्ध्या केवलैरिन्द्रियैरपि योगिनः कर्म कुर्वन्ति सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा आत्मशुद्धये.
Again, Sangam Tyaktva, he says, the Karma Yogis perform action only with their senses, mind, intellect, body as well, without the feeling of mind and respect of them, shaking of attachment, simply for the sake of self-purification. That self-purification, Atma Shuddhye, that is important. Why should I do the action? So that what is my purpose in life? I am going to material benefit that will come. Yeah, but the saddest part today in today's world is that people are not sure because people get cheated. They get overpowered by the rich, by the strong. And so faith element has gone away from the world. So then these concepts are difficult to grasp. But here Krishna says that have that faith, you will be sustained, and work. That work will purify you and take you to the highest. Work with that purpose. And the instruments are there. You have been given the senses, the mind, the intellect. Use them for the purification of the self. Use your instruments. Don't indulge. Don't use them for sense gratification or for the worldly pleasures. Use them for a higher purpose. So,
We go to the next.
yeah.
युक्तः कर्म फलं त्यक्त्वा शान्तिमाप्नोति नैष्ठिकीम् अयुक्तः कामकारेण फले सक्तो निबध्यते.
Yeah. So 5.12, offering the fruit of actions to God, the karma yogi attains everlasting peace in the form of God realization, whereas he who works with a selfish motive, being attached to the fruit of actions through desire, gets tied down. So, yeah, again the same thing, karma phalam tyaktva. That attachment has to go. That desire has to go. I only have to work. I have to work and I will get the peace, which is the ultimate. So when you start thinking, ki, what will I get out of this? That is where the disaster happens. Mujhe kya milega? What do I get out? You see, we can just go through these verses. But now I was just talking a real life example. I was talking to somebody and she's working with a company. And now she says, I'm working so hard, but she says, I need the money. So she says, I am really putting a lot of effort. I'm treating it like my company and I'm doing my best. But she says the remuneration which I get is very low. So, and it was troubling her. So then she went to the boss and she says, look, I'm working and I need you to increase my pay. So there's nothing wrong in doing that. At the same time, she said, now, if they're not going to do it, then I'm going to look out for another job, which is fair enough. But now the point is that she has a young daughter who's in the 12th standard, and she's just going to give the exams. And this lady will need some holidays, some leaves, casual leaves from work. So her other dilemma was that if I take up a new job, they're not going to give me leaves immediately. So I have to stick to this job. And now what do I have to do? I have to straighten my mind. I have to accept this is it. My family situation is such. My child is more important than the money I get. And so now here the vikarma. I have to purify my mind. I have to put my mind to rest. I have a job. I'm getting the money. I want more money, but at the moment, it's not the right time to ask for more money or leave the job. So now putting the mind is a difficult thing. But then I do it. I put my mind to rest and I continue to do my job to the best of my capability. Who knows, in my next job, I may require all these skills. Who knows? We don't know. So even in this material world, if we try and practice, if we keep our values intact, then it is possible. We can't just run through these passages and say it's not possible in today's world. How can you not think of the result? You have to think of the result. People will take advantage of you. All these kind of doubts come, but these are possible. So we have to put our mind to rest. When you're working, do your work. You're eating your food, eat your food. Put your mind to rest. Don't start worrying and thinking. That is what this verse is basically telling us. Okay. Next verse.
सर्व कर्माणि मनसा सन्न्यस्यास्ते सुखं वशी नवद्वारे पुरे देहि नैव कुर्वन् न कारयन्.
Yeah. So he says the self-controlled Sankhya yogi, doing nothing himself and getting nothing done by others, is rests happily in God, the embodiment of truth, knowledge, and bliss, mentally relegating all actions to the mansion of the 9 gates, the body with the 9 openings. So he says that this person, he has disassociated himself from the material world, from the body, disassociated himself from the material, and he has associated himself to the real self, to the spirit. And again, that same thing, I do nothing at all. I'm resting in my body. I have a body. I am doing the actions, but mentally I have renounced all the actions. The actions don't taint me. I'm happy. So now this can go back to that idea of karma, vikarma, and akarma. Actions don't taint me. They don't bind me. I am free from all reactions of the actions. Any questions? Mentally, I'm free. Physically, I'm doing the work. Mentally, I'm free. You can reflect over it. So, any questions? Anybody else? Everybody is very silent today. Okay. I think these will require some.
It's Ashtami, na? So the mind is anyway focused on God.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. So, he's resting happily in his mansion.
न कर्तृत्वं न कर्माणि लोकस्य सृजति प्रभुः न कर्म फल संयोगम स्वभावस्तु प्रवर्तते.
Yeah. He says that God determines neither the doership nor the doings of men, nor even their contact with the fruit of actions. It is nature alone that does everything. Now, in the previous verse, he anyway says that that person who is resting happily in his body and mentally he's renounced all the actions, he says he doesn't do anything and he does not cause others to act. That means his reactions are absolutely kind of extinct. He doesn't react to anything. And naturally, he doesn't react. He doesn't cause others also to react. We react, others react. It's a cycle. So now he says that we are responsible for our own actions. We are responsible for our sufferings. Because the Prabhu, who has created this world, he has not created any, he does not partake of anything. He's a witness. He doesn't do anything. He is not interested in the reactions of our actions. And there is no union with the karma phal. But it is we who act and it is we who suffer. So can we take full responsibility for our actions? That is what this verse is basically trying to tell us. That we can't blame others. And when we take responsibility, it's also talking about basically getting more and more aware. Karma kiya, this was the result. Why did this result come? Because I was not aware of certain things during the action. So I make a note, I write it down that I did this action, this was the result. Next time, I should be more careful. Step by step, I increase awareness. I stop blaming people around me. And I slowly come to this conclusion that God is a witness. All this action, reaction is because of me, of my nature. When I slowly take charge of my actions, then I slowly start improving them. Otherwise, I never improve them. I blame it on the weather, on the my son, my child, on the neighbors, on anything. Uh, we had a very interesting sharing one day. There was this Gujarati gentleman living in an apartment in a society, and his neighbor every morning would come and keep the dustbin outside his main door, and also take away the milk packets. Now this is very funny to us, but it was really painful to this man, to this gentleman. So then he says every day, and he would just litter his front door with garbage. Now, to think of somebody even doing that kind of act is unbelievable. Somebody living, educated in a city, in a cosmopolitan city like Mumbai, in Ville Parle, coming every day and putting garbage outside your neighbor's house. You're using your energy to put garbage outside your house. It was like, when we were listening to it, we were like shocked. So then that man shared, he said, I got very angry. And it was like, he said, every day I shouted at him, I fought with him. But then he said it didn't help. So he said, every day I cleaned the garbage and I cleaned his garbage also. I started sweeping. He said, I personally did it. I started sweeping the whole floor. And after a long period of time, the neighbor understood that this man is a good man and he stopped doing it and he even apologized. But he said that 1 year when I had to do that was really terrible for me also. But he said because मैं यहाँ आता हूँ डॉक्टर साहब को देखता हूँ वो इतने शांत हैं वो सब अपना काम करते हैं तो मैंने सोचा मैं भी क्यों नहीं करूँ. You see, you have to apply these things. It's very, very difficult. I mean, you can put yourself in that situation and think how much you would be reacting. So now in this previous verse, he says that I give everything to him. I don't act, I don't cause others to act. I even over a period of time stop their reactions. And I take responsibility for all actions. The pain which I'm bearing, that I must have done something. Now, whatever this man told himself in his mind, finally he worked on himself and he got the result. So
No, I missed the part of the story, the last part of the story. Second half of the story I missed.
Okay. So
There
I'll
was
just,
some
yeah.
disturbance in my connectivity.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, sir, you heard this part of the neighbor throwing the garbage? Yeah. So now this gentleman, he was very, very disturbed for a long period of time. He started fighting with the neighbor and he started complaining to the society, but nothing was really helping. And the neighbor was getting more and more aggressive. So this man started sweeping the whole floor and he was very, very polite to the neighbor. He just simply picked up the garbage and threw it. Every day that became his routine. The neighbor's routine was to throw the garbage. This man's routine was to clean the garbage and throw it. And over a period of more than a year or something, I don't know the exact time, but he said over a long period of time, things just fizzled out. The neighbor stopped doing his wrongdoings. And this man said that I have been coming to the institute, I have been listening to the talks, I have been seeing a person like Dr. Jaidev, and why can't I practice it in my life instead of just grumbling over the situation? So the point is that he did not react and he stopped the reaction of the other person. The previous verse says, no, na eva kurvana karyana. Like he does, I don't act and I don't even cause others to act. So he stopped the reaction of the other person. So it is possible in today's world also to raise ourselves to another level, to a higher level, and take responsibility for our own actions. Not blame the external for the sufferings, but take responsibility and act accordingly. So the Prabhu, he does not do anything. He's created this world, he's given me the body, he's given me the mind, he's given me the senses, he's given me the intellect. He's given me everything. Now I work and I liberate.
So, I was speaking with Shailesh Bhai.
Yeah.
So, some difficult situation, and so Shailesh Bhai was telling me that Dr. Sahib would always say that in whatsoever, howsoever situation, you go on doing what good you can,
True.
but that's it.
That's it.
Leave the situation to itself. You are not the owner of the situation. आप जो शुभ कर सकते हैं वो आप करते रहिए और बाकी जाने दीजिए.
True. Dr. Saab has, I have heard him 1,000 times in the class saying, Karmaneva adhikaraste.
In 50, what a past.
He says this is the most powerful sentence the Gita has written, and we have to live by it.
Sorry, can I just excuse myself for about 10 minutes for the puja?
Okay.
Please continue. Please continue.
Okay.
I'm so sorry,
Yeah.
but
No, no problem.
I'll just be back.
Okay, sure. So, sir, is this clear? Shall we move on to the next verse?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Nadatte kasyachit papan nachaiva sukritam vihuhu ajnanena vritam jnanan tena muhyanti jantavaha.
So the omnipresent God does not partake the virtue or sin of anyone. Knowledge is enveloped by ignorance. Hence, it is that beings are constantly failing, a prey to delusion. So he says the Prabhu, the Vibhu. Now he's using the word Vibhu. Same thing, the Lord. That in the actions there is no external agency. It is we who do. It is we who do the wrong, the right, and it is we who gain the result. The Prabhu, the Vibhu is a witness. He does not partake of anything. Our actions decide everything. So, again, the same thing. We have to take responsibility for our actions. We have to do whatever we can. And continue. The situation will resolve itself, and we have to have that faith. So, anybody has a question? Jay Kumarji, you want to say something? You've been very silent. Sagar Bhai?
Not silenced. I'm just enjoying.
Okay. All right. No questions? Okay, fine. So, sir, you have anything to say? Shall we move?
Yeah.
We'll move on first.
ज्ञानेन तु तदज्ञानं येषां नाशितमात्मनः येषाम् आदित्यवत् ज्ञानं प्रकाशयति तत्परम्.
Yeah. So he says, in the case, however, of those who said ignorance has been destroyed by true knowledge of God, that wisdom, shining like the sun, reveals the Supreme. Vinoba Bhave says that when your door is shut, the sun cannot enter. He says the sun is there in the sky and you have shut the door. But he said the moment you open the door, even a centimeter, the sunlight just comes inside. It's not going to ask you, should I come in or no? So the knowledge just destroys the ignorance. It's not going to ask the ignorance, should I destroy you or no? Just comes and destroys the ignorance, the darkness. And in that light, everything seems, there is clarity. You know what to do, what not to do. There is absolute clarity. Then there is no sin because you do the right actions in that clarity. So now when we were doing this verse, Dr. Saab was saying that every day we must read some good literature. That literature gives us the light. It brings to light a lot of things. So a lot of our doubts are clear. So every day some kind of good reading which can remove these doubts is essential. So now we can go to the verse 17.
तद्बुद्धयस्तदात्मानस्तन्निष्ठास्तत्परायणाः गच्छन्त्य पुनरावृत्तिं ज्ञाननिर्धूतकल्मषाः.
Yeah. So he says, those whose mind and intellect are wholly merged in him, who remain constantly established in identity with him, and have finally become one with him, their sins being wiped out by wisdom, reach the supreme goal, whence there is no return. So he says that for these people, there's only a higher objective, and they are only working towards that objective. So also in this world where we are living, also if we put our mind, our intellect, our whole self on the path, and there is complete devotion, then obviously you reach there. And then you don't come back. You don't slide back. Once you reach a higher level, you never slide back. So he says that one goes on going on further in life, and there is no return for him. Okay, now I have a very funny incident to share on this. It's a normal day-to-day life. You see, from our day-to-day life incidents, we can gather a lot of knowledge and a lot of learning. And this is something very funny and day-to-day. So my brother has a daughter, and she's now 11 years old. So when she was 10 years old, she was crawling. When she was 1 year old, 10 years back, she was crawling. And I used to meet her very often, and often I used to see her crawling. Now, I had not met her for a long time, for about 2-3 weeks. And the next, when I met her, she was walking. So my first reaction was, Arey, she's crawling. And my brother's immediate reaction was, now it's below her dignity to crawl. She doesn't crawl anymore. She only walks. Now that sentence has, been stuck in my head. Once I reach a higher level, it becomes have understood a concept fully, then I can't go back to my old ways. So this knowledge is very firm. it doesn't take you, slide you back into the crawling mode. You start walking, you start running, and you keep going further in life. So this always comes to my mind when I do these shlokas, that you can't slide back to the old ways. Your devotion on the path has to be complete. So
विनय संपन्ने ब्राह्मणे गविहस्तिनि शुनि चैव श्वपाके च पंडिता समदर्शिनः.
So the person who gains the knowledge, what happens to him? He looks with equanimity on all, whether it's Brahman, endowed with learning and humility, a cow, an elephant, a dog, or a pariyatu, or an outcast. So he says when he gets that knowledge, then he does not make a difference between anybody. He's the same to everybody. He sees the same life principle in everybody. Now he says, out with Vidya and Vinay, humility, he becomes humble. So only an egoistic person can see the difference. We look down upon people who are not very intelligent, who are not very advanced materially, economically advanced. So we look down upon. There is a difference in our mind. We can't see the equality in everybody because we've not reached that stage. So here he says the wise, they see everything as same. So the knowledge removes the ignorance. Now also, so when we were discussing this, so there were questions like, we do feel fearful when we see a snake, or even if we see a dog, we do feel fearful. How can we, have the same kind of a thought process? So now the answer was that when you see a dog and you're scared, you have to think that the dog guards the house and the dog bites also. So I have to keep away from the dog who bites, and I can be friendly to the dog who guards. So it also makes me, but I can't hurt anybody. So in the same way, there are so many people around me. Some are helpful, some may be detrimental to my progress. So I simply keep away from certain individuals. I don't harm them. I understand that they are also a part of this universe and they have the same life principle in them. I don't hurt them, but I simply keep away. That much we can do. And I keep company of the good who help me in my progress. So everybody has their place in life. If I understand that much also, then I've understood. Okay.
Some dog owners who keep their pet dogs at a higher level than human beings.
Yes, all kinds of people are there. Now, we can't force them to read the Gita. They will be, so now because we have read, we have to keep our mind in a balanced state.
Right.
Yeah. And we simply keep away from people from people who disturb us or who can be harmful. So there was one question कि ऐसी डरावनी situation हो तो क्या करना चाहिए? So the answer was भाग जाना चाहिए, खतरे के सामने क्यों रहेगा? So we have to use our wisdom and equanimity. So we can go to the next verse.
Yes, please. एव तैर्जितः सर्गो येषां साम्ये स्थितं मनः निर्दोषं हि समं ब्रह्म तस्मात् ब्रह्मणि ते स्थिताः.
Yeah. So it says that even in this birth, in this mortal plane, here, whose mind is established in equanimity, since the absolute is untouched by evil and is the same to all, hence they are established in Brahma, the Paramatma. So now this verse is so nice. It says that Brahman is a witness. Brahman is same to everybody. He does not partake of the merit and the demerit. And if we also become established in equanimity, if we also in this very birth get into this balanced state of mind, then we become like Brahman. So, as the company, so the color. If we keep our mind balanced, we become like Brahman. Because Brahman is a personification of balance. He's nirdosham. He's without any flaw. We also become flawless like him. He does not take the merit or the demerit. We also don't bother about the part. You know, we are balanced, we become like that. So, imbalanced person, Brahman. Okay.
Yeah. न प्रहृष्येत् प्रियं प्राप्य नोद्विजेत् प्राप्य च प्रियं स्थिरबुद्धिः असम्मूढो ब्रह्मविद् ब्रह्मणि स्थितः.
He who with firm intellect, free from doubt, rejoices not on obtaining what is pleasant, and does not feel perturbed on meeting with the unpleasant, that knower of Brahma lives eternally in identity with Brahma. It's the same thing he's saying, that be free from these opposites. Don't feel happy when you get something good. Don't feel unhappy when you don't get something of your liking. Develop this attitude, be the same in all situations. Internally, don't get very excited or sad. Externally, you may show the pleasure. You know, somebody has cooked something nice, you may express your pleasure. But internally, don't let anything disturb you. Move through life like a lotus leaf. Don't allow things to taint you or to stick onto you. So, can we do that? Sthira buddhi. Can we have that sthira buddhi? Undiluted. When we have that balance, we've understood. The intellect is firm. So this example of this gentleman which I just gave of the neighbor troubling him, he could practice it in day-to-day life. So it's not that we can't practice it. Can we just get a hold of our mind and remain in a balanced state? Can we remember this in difficult situations and say, okay, let me practice this balance of mind, and maybe over a period of time, I will achieve it. Okay, so we can go to verse 21.
बाह्यस्पर्शे असक्तात्मा विन्दत्यात्मनि यत् सुखं स ब्रह्मयोगयुक्तात्मा सुखम अक्षयम अश्नुते.
Yeah. So he says the pleasures which are born of sense contacts are verily a source of suffering, though appearing as enjoyable to the worldly minded people. They have a beginning and an end. They come and go, Arjun. It is for this reason that a wise man does not indulge in them. Who's a wise person? The one who's understood that all this in the material world, the pleasures of the material world are temporary. When that firm understanding is there, it's not a cursory understanding, a temporary understanding. But I have understood that all this suffering also, which is there, is temporary. There are many people who are suffering today because of the coronavirus. And there are somebody who are taking it as a blessing. They are adapting to the situation and doing whatever they can. So a wise man does not get perturbed. He finds happiness in all situations. Shall we do the next verse, sir?
Shall we go to the next?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Next verse.
Yes. ये हि संस्पर्शजा भोगा दुःख योनय एव ते आद्यन्तवन्तः कौन्तेय न तेषु रमते बुधः.
Oh, I'm sorry. I read this previous verse. Okay. But it means the same thing. The pleasures which are born of sense objects have a beginning and an end, and a wise man does not indulge in them. So the same thing, the pleasures, dukkha yoni, they are the womb of dukkha, of suffering. The wise man has understood this. And the external contacts don't disturb him. He is the same in. We just have to reflect on these verses. Can we accept that the sense objects are ultimately going to give us pain? That they are a source of pain? They are generators of pain? That they have a beginning and an end? We can try. Next time when we eat, instead of indulging too much, we can maintain a distance and say, yes, I'm eating with pleasure, but I should not overeat. I can eat it, but I should not get this. It's good, it's fine. If it's not there also, I should be equally balanced in my mind. Next verse, sir.
शक्नोति इहैव एव यः सोढुं प्राक् शरीर विमोक्षणात् कामक्रोधोद्भवं वेगं स युक्तः स सुखी नरः.
He says, he alone who is able to withstand in this very life, before casting off his body, the urges of lust and anger, he is a yogi and he alone is a happy man. It's such a good verse. Kama krodha bhavam vegam. The impulse, the vega born out of anger. You see, when we are in our day-to-day life situations, there are going to be situations which are going to irritate us no end. It is going to happen. But can we understand the impulse when it arises in ourselves? Can we understand, okay, I am getting angry, I am getting irritated. Can I be silent? Can I control it at that moment and at least not let the reaction come out? Or can I dilute the reaction immediately? Can my reactions not be so intense? Can they be mild?
Yeah.
So if I can do that much also, I'm happy. I'm a sukhi. So shall we do one first?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we have 5 minutes actually.
Yeah. यो अन्तः सुखो अन्तरारामस् तथा अन्तर्ज्योतिरेव यः स योगी ब्रह्म निर्वाणं ब्रह्मभूतोऽधिगच्छति.
Yeah. He who is happy within himself. He says now in the previous verse, he says that one who is able to withstand the impulses born of krodha and anger, he's a sukhinar. And now what happens? He who is happy within himself enjoys within himself the delight of the soul, and even so, he is illumined by the inner light. Such a yogi, identified with Brahma, attains Brahma, who is all peace. I start experiencing the joy more and more. And there is more and more peace. And in that peace, there is that eternal knowledge. And then now what happens when I get the eternal peace? The next verse.
लभन्ते ब्रह्म निर्वाणं ऋषयः क्षीणकल्मषाः छिन्नद्वैधा यतात्मानः सर्वभूतहिते रताः.
The seers whose sins have been purged, whose doubts have been dispelled by knowledge, whose disciplined mind is firmly established in God, who is devoted to the welfare of all beings, attains Brahman, who is all peace. So, yeah. So his sins are destroyed. Basically, of being in a balanced state. When I go on doing my work, I go on not having a desire for the fruit. But for me, work is of prime importance. And what is that work? My swadharma, not any other work. And then these are the benefits I get. My sins go away. There is knowledge firmly established in God. And I am firmly all being. I rise above selfishness. I'm an asset to the society. I'm not a liar. So, shall we end today's class? It's 10:13.
Yeah,
We can begin with verse 5.26 next time.
fine.
Yeah. So today
Fine.
there was nothing to share. We have 2 minutes.
As you said, this is a culmination of what we have covered in the earlier chapters.
Yeah. It is a culmination.
Yeah.
Okay. So on these verses have to be just repeated again and again, and impressioned on the mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all. Okay. So namaste. We end
Namaste.
today's,
Right.
and we will soon in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank
Yeah,
you.
so since we have 2 more minutes, I think in the way I, in my limited experience, it really is our habits, very deep-seated habits that we have to kind of work to, loosen. Even when we are, intellectually, quite, shall we say, aware and convinced that, the truth is what the Gita is saying. But in our action, either because we lose awareness, the discriminative capacity, or because we are so programmed over years and maybe lives, we don't know, to act in a certain manner that we. So, as you very rightly said, we have to इसका चिंतन मनन और इनको जितना ध्यान में रख सकें, उससे धीरे-धीरे I think we will be able to work against the force of habit or to replace old habits with